Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormy B-Man, and I am live and on the move. Shout out to my brother Junior the Truth. Yeah, coming to you this morning on my way to the grind, man. It's like, you know what? We're doing our thing. And I just wanted to make a quick comment and reaction to the video that I just wrapped up watching, The Last Stand with Brian Custer interviewing Lamont Roach Jr. Man, let me tell you something. There are some real ones still in the sport of boxing. They just are not getting the shine, the attention, and the opportunity, man. Because, you know, America is all about reality TV. It is what it is, you know. But when you get a chance to get a taste of the live one, that fresh game flavor, dude, there's nothing else like it. And let me just say, starting out, Lamont Roach Jr. is a real one. He's one of them ones. And what makes me say that? Not only his performances in the ring, but there is also something called decorum. The young man knows decorum, and I can always get behind that. But isn't there something special about that? Oh yeah, he has a dad in his life, right? Boom. Yeah. Let me see who we got. We got a couple people coming into the building already. That's good, man. We got, who's that? KP from KC. What's going on with you? Salute to you. And we got Dale.Riv out there early this morning, man. What's going on? You guys don't never sleep, man. Stormy B-Man be sleep, though. I be sleep, man. You know, that's why I have to catch stuff on replay and everything. You know, it's hard, you know, being able to look this good and everything and keep yourself tight and whatnot. You know, you got to be able to, you know, get your beauty rest, Some of y'all don't know nothing about beauty rest. That's why you're so ugly, Yeah, you need to get in the bed and go to sleep, And I ain't talking about getting in the bed with some woman or somebody else's woman and all of that stuff, You get your rest on, Get your rest on. But anyway, back to Lamont Roach Jr. and Brian Custer, the interview that they did. It says on my feed that it was uploaded like 21 hours ago. And, you know, I don't always catch things when they're live because I got a life, And I got to go to the grind like I'm doing this morning, That means you got to sometimes sacrifice, YouTube for, you know, doing your job, Yeah. But anyway, we got Stephen L. the Mac. Of course, I know he's out there. That brother's 24/7, 365, And 100 down, Like 100 grand, my man. What's going on with you, Stephen L.? Grand rising to you this morning as well, brother. But Lamont Roach touched on some things regarding the Tank Davis situation. He touched on things regarding what else was in store, had the Pitbull Cruz situation not been defined and crystallized for him. And he also talked about what he would like to do being successful against Pitbull Cruz in the future. I'm telling you, man, I'm very impressed, and I've been impressed with him. And like I said earlier about shout out to Junior the Truth, you know, going into his fight against Tank Davis, and I've been telling you guys and reminding you because we're a community out here and we're cohesive, When Junior the Truth did a live stream the week leading up to the fight between Davis and Roach, did a call-in show one particular day, and he was asking his audience, hey, does anybody out there think or give Lamont Roach a chance against Gervonta Tank Davis? Now, I had heard about them having the experience of familiarity, being from the same area. Also, amateur paths had crossed. But I based what I had to say to Junior on that day and to the chat, my reason for feeling that I would give Roach a chance, because I had been watching him, and not like just having the eagle eye upon him. I watched the sport of boxing. And I remember his fight, I believe it was prior to the opportunity against Davis, where he had fought on Pro Box TV and defended and won the WBA junior lightweight title. And I watched how he handled himself in that fight. Now, I remember the challenge against Jamel Herring. And I remember watching that fight and not knowing either guy too well, because even though Herring was the world titleist at the time, the junior lightweight titleist, I hadn't watched a lot of him, but I was familiar with him. One of the things I acknowledged about Herring is that he's got that gene where him, Kevin Kelly, and Martin Lawrence, them guys look like they brothers. I don't know what's going on, huh? Yeah, Jamel Herring, Martin Lawrence, and Kevin Kelly. Somebody look up the DNA, huh? Them brothers is related. They look alike. And they're not twins or triplets, but you know, they do favor one another. So, hey, it is what it is, right? But anyway, back to the fighters. And talking about Herring, and man, these people be driving so crazy early in the morning. I have to pay attention to the road, family. Herring and Roach Jr. One of the things that stood out was Roach has ability, but I don't know if it was confidence. I don't know if it were, the encouragement of the corner or whatever. But he had some standout moments in there with Herring. And I think he even rocked Herring at one point and didn't follow up on it or whatever. But Herring overall ended up getting the decision. I think it was a unanimous decision over Roach Jr. And I remember the dejection that I saw on his face in the ring when the decisions were announced. And what that told me was he was unhappy with his performance, and Dale Darrell says, wow, talking about me talking about those three brothers looking alike. And Stephen L says, Quote and Mr. Gary Russell are cousins. Yeah, in more ways than one, Stephen L, and I'll leave it just like that. And that ain't a compliment. But anyway, let me get back to what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I noticed that about him. It was a sense of he was deflated. And Herring went on to lose to Shakur Stevenson. We know that story and everything. That's how Shakur garnered that title at that weight division. But it was a long haul back for Roach Jr. And I'm not trying to go the long route to explain to you all what I mean when I said that I had my eye on him. I noticed that about him, but he started, he came back, had a couple of fights, and then that Pro Box TV performance. And I said, whoa, this is not the same guy that faced Jamel Herring. He has a different approach. He has a different mindset, and he's performing. His execution in the ring is different. That is the type of thing that you're supposed to pay attention to when you're watching boxing. But remember, people are often looking at the wrong things. And I don't say that trying to put anyone down. I say that to try to get you to be drawn in to a deeper layer of what can be received when you know what you're looking at. So on Junior's show that day, the week leading up to the Davis versus Roach Jr. fight, I noticed these things about Lamont, and I said yes in capital letters. I wrote in Junior's chat that day. I said, I believe that he has a chance. And there were people just totally writing the man off. And you cannot tell me when they had the fight. Salute to Jose Diaz out there this morning. Good morning to you. And Javani, 1986. What's going on? Good morning. Peace to you. Grand Rising. Yeah, you cannot tell me that going in, because most people weren't paying attention to Lamont Roach Jr. Most people didn't care about Lamont Roach Jr. Most people were eyeballing Tank Davis and looking at his achievements and his popularity and things of that nature, remembering the knockouts he's been scoring against hand-picked opponents, pretty much. Huh? Yeah. So what happened is, not only did Roach Jr. compete, he stepped to Tank. Not only did he step to Tank, he fought with an exuberance of trying to win the fight. He wasn't in awe of him. He wasn't deferring to him as the man or whatever. He was looking through Tank as you look through a glass window pane. And I noticed that all of that was something that Tank Davis's most recent opponents hadn't brought to the ring. You know, some guys were just happy to be there. Some guys were in awe of him. Frank Martin, I don't know what went down there, because he should have been able to perform better. And it's okay, because Frank can come back just like Lamont came back against Jamel Herring. Frank can come back and do some great things in the sport if it's in him as far as his fortitude. Salute to Freedom's March. I see you out there, brother. Grand Rising to you this morning. So, me being observant of Lamont Roach Jr., knowing what he brought, and then after watching some interviews with him, hearing him express the relationship he has with his dad, things of that nature, it began to settle with me that, oh, okay, we're looking at another young fighter who is a man of substance out there. He might not be the popular person. He might not be the fighter that's flashy. He might not be the guy that has garnered these knockouts that are, you know, so exciting. But he's going to give you a blue-collar effort, and he's going to make an attempt to win his fights by asserting himself, applying himself. And those are the things that you should be looking at, the qualities that a fighter will bring to any match that he is, whether he's on paid TV or whether he is on untelevised card. And see, these are the kind of things that I look at. So I said, yes, I give him a chance against Tank. And he was in there doing his thing. And it was really interesting to watch, to the degree that Tank, we all know, hindsight, looking back, took a knee in the bout, went to his corner and could have been DQ'd, and wasn't really ready for what Lamont Roach brought on that night. Now, that's okay. Sometimes a fighter who is at a certain status and level, like Tank Davis was, He can overlook an opponent, yeah, and I'm not saying he should, I'm just saying it can happen, right? But this is where you find out the integrity of the fighter. There was a proposed rematch, and contracts were even signed, even though Tank admitted on the night of the Roach that there was someone in his locker room that he was looking at as a potential future opponent. Counting your chickens before they hatch, so to speak. Huh? But knowing now that it was the Jake Paul situation that Tank was eyeballing, we didn't know why Tank wanted this. We didn't know why they were looking to have this kind of business deal, because if you can remember back, Paul was trying to get Canelo Alvarez, but the Bud Turkey situation kind of pulled Alvarez out of that type of consideration, because Turkey told Canelo correctly. He said, hey, listen, man, don't think about those kind of novelty fights like that. Think about the fights over here that we can make, you know, and we can give you a multiple fight deal, and you can fight some quality opponents over here, and you'll be well compensated as a result of doing so. So Canelo did listen to the words of wisdom from Turki Al-Sheikh, and we're grateful that he did. But as we go forward and look at what transpired between Tank and Roach, it's obvious that Tank didn't have that bit of fortitude within himself to say, hey, I want to get back my integrity because things just didn't go well for me on that night, and I want to correct some wrongs. I want to be able to wipe the slate clean, or, you know, I want to improve upon the mistakes. No, he didn't do that. He not only renegotiated a deal with Roach where they would push the fight back, according to what Roach revealed to Brian Custer. He said when they pushed that date back, they didn't sign second contracts. See, now that's the thing that you have to look at. Salute to my brother, Junior the Truth out there. What's good with you, brother? I'm on the move, Junior. Doing my thing. Shout out to you, bro. And how'd you like that Tuesday tussle, Junior? I was going to send you a text message, but since you're in the chat live this morning, I'll just ask you over the airwaves. Remember, I recommended the Tuesday tussle to you? Main biker in the building saying good day, Stormy, in chats. Grand rising to you, main biker. Yeah, listen. So with Roach revealing that to Brian Custer, now understand, Brian Custer is a very good interviewer. You know what I mean? Sometimes he can be favoring guys or whatnot, but he still will ask quality type questions to get a fighter to elaborate. And so with what Roach was able to offer up, Tank didn't want no smoke no more. He didn't want it. And what Custer was able to ask him, well, why do you think that is? Because Custer was saying, is it because, you know, he knew he was going to get 40 plus to 50 million over here with Jake Paul, and he obviously was, you know, chasing the bag, that type of deal, or was it something different? And Roach responded, and again, that was a wonderful question, because a man of integrity is going to respond in kind. And what he said to Custer was, he could have made close to that fighting me in the rematch, because people were now turned on to our first fight and there was some controversy, there was some competitiveness and everything, so it will draw the ire of the public. And that's basically what he said. I'm kind of paraphrasing what Roach Jr. offered, and it was true. And again, Paul not being a rated boxer and everything, and Roach kind of alluded to that, saying that, you know, that's not real. That's what Paul is doing over there is not what we do for a living, even though it is similar and it assimilates that, but it's still fake. You know what I mean? It's just like, you remember, if you're old enough, in the 70s, we had people that were wearing like leather jackets and stuff like that, and, you know, very cool stuff. But somewhere they came up with a material, they called it pleather. I don't know if you young folks of today know about pleather, huh? But back then, when they came up with pleather, it was kind of a plastic-like leather assimilated product that jackets and, you know, coats and everything, and it was fake, you know, and it would rip and tear and peel. You know what I'm saying? So you might have thought you had a nice little leather jacket when you bought it off the rack, but if you didn't check the quality of what the ingredients were to make the product, you'll find out, oh, this is pleather. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you, in the late 70s and early 80s, were one of those folks that had that curl in your hair, huh? And when you had that activator, they called it, I believe, when it dripped down on the collar of those pleather jackets, huh? That was all she wrote, because it was like dropping acid, huh, on your flesh. Yeah, we saw it, man. And it was something else, man. It was something else, I tell you. Quan Big Guns in the building. What's happening with you? Grand Rising to you. ATX 41 Red, what's good with you? And we got Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. What's going on with you, brother? Grand Rising to you as well. Mahari, you've been out there quarreling with them guys out there, huh? I be hearing you, hey, I'm gonna roast you, I'm gonna roast you. When you become the chef, Mahari, out there roasting folks. I was like, man, this brother got a little hair on his chin, now he ready to go in. Yeah, salute to you, Mahari Nation. Quan Big Gun says, 100% facts, real fighters not out here fighting NBA players or MMA guys. Yeah, and so that's what Lamont was saying. You know, Lamont was really keeping it 100 on that, and Brian Custer was able to get that out of him without slamming or dragging anyone. And I appreciate that, because that's quality journalism, you know, interviewing a guy and letting him speak, but also leading him along the way to be more revealing by just letting him talk. And Roach Jr. is an intelligent man. You can see he understands all of this, which is why fighters like him deserve more attention. We need to give those guys the interviews. We need to give them the videos that we talk about them in hopes of seeing them persevere in a sport that is a chew you up and spew you out type of a sport. So those are the kind of things that you look at and you say you want more. And I say that Roach, in that interview, and then he started to talk about Pitbull Cruz, and he said that he looks forward to a guy like Cruz. He did speak about Cruz being one-dimensional, as I have, and he didn't say it in those terms, though. He said it in a way that, again, you have to watch the interview with him and hear his own words of how he described Pitbull. He says he comes straight for you, you know. And Brian Custer had asked, well, what happens, because you're a straightforward to you type guy, and so is he. And he said, hey, I believe I can fight him that way, but he said probably not right off the bat, because he's going to use his smarts and his wits. And when he recognizes what he'll be able to do against Cruz and take advantage of his limitations, that's when he'll, make the necessary adjustments, which is what an intelligent boxer is supposed to do and how he's supposed to think. So again, Roach is displaying the characteristic traits of a boxer who prepares properly, who can assess what's in front of him and also articulate what he needs to do to be successful. And see, that's the thing. We don't have enough of the endorsement of that. You know what I mean? And that's why, again, I was so thankful that I got a chance to watch that this morning, because that's why I'm doing this live, because I'm talking about him and I'm talking about what he brought. And see, again, how many Tank Davis videos is out there? How many, it's like, it's almost disheartening to see this stuff, driving here, I got to pay attention to this road. I was trying to take a look at the chat. I see a couple of comments written in there. Bear with me, family, till I get to this certain point. Then I'll be able to read those comments so I can rebut. Let's see. Mahari Nation says, listen, after all these years of getting roasted from the brothers, I've gained knowledge and started giving them a dose of their own medicine. Okay, I got you. That's what's up, Abel. That's right. They kick sand at you, you kick it back at them, brother. That's how you do it, man. And see, that's what, listen, Lamont Roach kicked sand at Tank, and Tank folded up his blanket and left the beach, didn't he? Yeah. Ain't that some funny stuff? Hey, he's been exposed, huh? Will Sinclair's out there. What's good with you, brother? Grand rising to you. Salute. Yeah, so Custer has said, well, what was on the table for you since the situation with Tank wasn't going to lead to the rematch? And he said, well, I had even talked to Shakur Stevenson because we had, some interaction, and we were discussing possibly facing one another. But he said that Shakur had something else going on with the possibility of facing a guy who had a world title. And that, of course, we're talking about Teofimo Lopez, right? So he was talking about that. And he said, I can understand that. If Shakur is going for another world title or something like that, let that be what it is. However, the Pitbull situation came about, and he recognized how lucrative that could be for him and the appeal. People remember when Tank fought Pitbull, and of course they'll do a comparison, common opponents, right? But it's not just that for Roach. It's about being able to discern an opponent that can advance you. And Pitbull is a fighter. He has a following and an audience. And to engage in something like that would be nothing but beneficial for Lamont Roach Jr. And that's good stuff there. Jonathan Simon, salute to you. Good morning. Blessings to you as well, brother. So being able to do that is why. And as he spoke of these things, you could tell that he is motivated in the sport to not just be an also-ran or a guy that's just happy to be here or something like that. He's looking to put it on the line. He's looking to endorse the challenges that can come across your table. And again, that's what we crave. That's what we ask for. And so many of us are like not, our thirst is not quenched for those type of desires, because there's so many guys who are moving funny, and again, PBC has held guys back, whether it's been monetary problems where they can't pay people or whatever. They really need to let these fighters go and encourage them to go out to other platforms so that they can sustain their careers and remain active and everything, because the lack of activity from the PBC fighters is just insulting to them. And it's really ridiculous to see these men on the shelf when they should be in the ring fighting. Another aspect of the conversation that really lit with me was when Brian Custer asked Roach Jr., he was like, well, what do you foresee happening, in the event that you're successful against Pitbull? What do you see? And he says, well, there are definitely other fights, big fights on the table that I would like to consider and pursue. And he mentioned Gary Anton Russell. Wow. Do you hear anyone calling Gary Anton's name? No, you do not. And so here we have LAMONT ROACH, who stated that he would be interested in relishing a fight with Gary Anton. And Brian Custer immediately said, man, that's a great fight to look forward to. He said, especially for that era. And as I'm listening to it, and I'm saying to myself, hearing what Custer's remarks were, I said, no, that's not a great fight for the area only. That's a great fight for boxing, because you're talking about men who want to get in there and show their wares and prove to the world who's the best, and are motivated beyond just monetary value. And that's what, again, will inject life into the sport. See, you can't, because money will come, people. It will come, especially when the people come. But guess what brings the people? Quality. Quality brings the people. And if you're just pushing out, fights where guys are fighting opposition that don't have a chance, like when Boots fought this guy this past weekend, it's like people get turned off. You can give them one or two of those, but that shouldn't be a guy's career, huh? Shout out to Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, it shouldn't be just a bunch of guys that are handpicked that where you could look good, but you're not being threatened or you're not being challenged. And threatened sometimes can come across a certain kind of way. That's why I correct myself and say challenged, because in boxing, we want to see the challenges. We want to see the fighters go for something that will give them that type of that thing that makes them, say, well, I can do it. And then to be successful, and then you realize with your success that not only can you do it, that the people come out and they support you and things of that nature. So it goes further and further. And people need to realize that, because if you're supporting the proper things in boxing, it will kind of guide people along that path to do the proper things in boxing. You see, but if they can get by selling you wolf tickets and cream puffs, you're gonna be fat, huh? And you're gonna have, a bad diet off of all of that kind of stuff. So just know the difference of what's being offered to you out there. Let's see, we got some more comments out there. Junior says, the PBC should be brokering deals for fighters to fight elsewhere. Yes, Junior, yes. And not just leaving these men, inactive and on the shelf. And some of them, my goodness, they have lost years of their prime. Danny Garcia's dad came out in an interview a few days ago, and he was talking about how Danny was put on the shelf for 3 years. We were thinking that Danny wasn't interested in boxing or whatever, but no, he was waiting for them to give him a fight, and they wouldn't give him a fight, or they couldn't give him a fight. That's when you're supposed to release these guys from those slave contract deals, man. It's really, oh my goodness. And everybody don't have the money to fight in court, They don't. And I know it's because sometimes the fighters, they mismanage their funds, and you know, they don't have, you know, advisors who could assist them with their money. But some of them who set up businesses for themselves, even their own little promotional companies, they have the opportunity to do certain things, and they don't. They spending an extra few $100,000 on those chains that hang from their necks, or those rings on their fingers, huh? Yeah, and those kind of foolish things. But again, to be able to invest, you know that you're doing the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. Because boxing is only for a season. It's not a long, lifelong career. It's not. And that's why these fighters, they got to get themselves together when it comes to that, man. They really do. So, Jose Diaz says, Gary Anton Russell is no joke. Yeah, he's not. And for Lamont Roach, who's familiar with him too, they're from that area, right? And for him to say that, it's like, dude, that was an exclusive right there. Because you can hear Gary Anton say sometimes in interviews, oh, nobody wants to fight or whatever. Yeah, that's what's up, you know? Nefertiti, good morning to you. Good morning. Yes, Stormy is live. Yeah, grand rising to you. Karma Serene is out there. Good morning to you. Jose Diaz says, great point. Nefertiti says, facts. PBC/Al claim to be advisors, so why aren't they giving them good advice? There you go. There you go, right? And I say this all the time. But Jose says, you got to put money away for a rainy day. Yes, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, yeah, but listen, your family, I have arrived to the cotton fields. That's why my audio may be sounding a little muffled right now, because I'm going into a bed of cotton, and the thrashing may begin if I don't get to it. So I appreciate everybody that came out there this morning just to hear Stormy B, man, drop a little bit. But if you haven't had a chance, go watch that episode of The Last Stand with Brian Custer, his interview with Lamont Roach Jr. It was uploaded yesterday. And maybe if after this video processes, I can go back and put the link for it in the description box for this. But I want to say happy Thursday to everyone out there. Got a premiere coming up at 8 a.m. Check me out on the channel. And I want to say shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we'll catch up with you guys later. Peace to everybody. And everybody just filing into the building now that I'm getting ready to go off. Good morning to you. Blessings. Have a great day. Grand rising and all of that good stuff. Peace to y'all. I'm out of here.